Okay. So wanted to welcome everybody to the second in our coaching development program series. I'm Ricardo Martinez. I am the competitive director for the boys program on the Mustang board. Today I'm joined by John Doyle and Mike Kelly. And today Mike's going to go over something that's near and dear to I think all of our hearts, which is attacking principles. I'm going to turn it over to John. If you guys have any questions as Mike's going through his presentation, feel free to put those in the chat, and I'll be monitoring that, and I can jump in and ask Mike a question as it pops up, or feel free to just ask the question yourself and jump in. And we want to make this as collaborative as possible so that you guys get the most out of it. Once this is done, I will end up posting this. We're actually looking at creating a YouTube channel for this. So stay tuned for that, more information on that. But these recordings will be posted so that if you weren't able to catch everything or had additional questions or just wanted to refresh your memory, this will be up there. So I'm going to turn it over to John.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce Mike Kelly, former player at Sonoma State where he won a national championship. So he was a terrific player. We were lucky enough to get him at least 10 to 12 years ago, might even be more now as time flies by. He's our ECNL director, as well as one of our great coaches in the ECNL. Mike is not only a great coach, great human being, great with the girls, and everybody loves playing for him. So I'll turn it over to Mike.
Thanks, John. And Ricardo, thank you too. Thanks for setting this up and for getting it going. I think, we feel as, the paid, I guess, professional coaches in the club that we definitely want to help and be able to reach out. And this is a great way to do it. And I think some of this COVID stuff has got us being a little creative. So again, appreciate the introduction, John. And we'll get right into it. So just create a little presentation, try to keep it pretty simple. We'll go through the principles pretty quickly. My main sort of objective is really to get to the training portion where I've been a part of a ton of coaching courses and webinars and that kind of stuff. And I appreciate the ones that I feel are relevant to myself. So I know, I've done John Doyle camps. I've coached, worked with the Premier program. I've worked in Rec Plus. I've coached third teams, second teams, ECNL teams. Coached in the NorCal PDP program and the state pool. So the US Soccer B license is my current license, and definitely looking to get my A probably once we can get rid of COVID. So anyways, we'll jump right into it. Like Ricardo said, if there's any questions, feel free to pump them into the chat and I'm happy to answer at any time. Okay, so as far as the attacking principles we'll go over, they just include penetration, support, width, mobility, improvisation or creativity, and transition. So those are sort of, 6 kind of, more basic things. And of course, there's a million different things that go into, completing these or doing them in a fashion where your team is successful. So we'll just go through each one pretty quickly. And then, like I said, we'll talk a little bit about training, and I have a little video as well towards the end. So as far as penetration, so just the ability to play through or behind the opponent using the following key actions. So breaking lines, what we mean by breaking lines is breaking lines of pressure. So usually you have maybe a forward line of pressure, a midfield line of pressure, and a back line. And the more that your team is playing in between those lines, the harder it is on the opponent to defend, and the more success that you have getting to goal really as quickly as possible. You can break lines through a few different ways. So obviously on the dribble, you can get by someone with your first touch. So as with your body shape, receiving the ball, being able to break a line with your first touch past the opponent, obviously passing. So getting your teammates to operate sort of in half spaces, so spaces in between lines, and the pass breaking a line into your teammate. And then off the ball movement, obviously, and that kind of comes a little bit more, on that final action, that final pass, getting to goal, of players being active. and into sort of some of the keywords I have down here. So vertical or backspace is different ways to kind of say it, but obviously getting forward. The objective of when we have the ball is to score goals, and it's to do it in the most efficient way. So if there's moments to get in behind the opponent, find the split pass, find players that are on the move. So we really will talk about a little bit more about that and the mobility. And then of course the execution. So some of the technical aspects of the pace of the pass, the technique of the pass, and of course in certain final moments being really good 1v1. That's something that we really want to encourage our players to be, have that personality, have that confidence. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that. So just different ways to penetrate, just one of the attacking principles. As far as support goes, so teammates should be available in the following areas. So vertically, again, players that are target players, strikers, players that are in the midfield. So 8s and 10s looking to get in behind the opponent. So options forward, options alongside. So that could be to the right or the left. Options underneath, very important for players. If your teammate has their back to goal, that we're providing them, something alongside and something underneath. So again, once that ball is moved, those players, we're hoping their next action is again to play forward. We want to get forward. We want to score goals. Keywords within that, your personality, right? So players that are static and not active and not engaged, we want to encourage players to be the opposite. We want them to show personality off the ball, to be, to make decisions, even if it's the wrong one, maybe in the moment, but at least they're, what's the best way to put it? At least they're being proactive, right? They're looking to make things happen. And that's what you have to do to put pressure on the opponent, right? The more that you wait around or hang out, the easier it is for the opponent to organize and make things difficult for you. As far as the support, again, so spacing, recognizing where your teammates are, where the space is, where the opponent is, and where the ball is, and being able to create spacing in a fashion that, again, the opponent has a lot of work to do. You're asking, making them ask a lot of questions of themselves, making them make a lot of decisions. Along with that, in the support, your body shape. So what we mean by that is really preparing your body in a way that you can play forward. And when you receive it, your next action can be going forward. Of course, one of the principles is width, but of course, since we need our width, and we also need to constantly be scanning. So looking around, checking your shoulder, taking looks. People have a lot of different terms of what they want to call things. So we just try to put some keywords in here for you to take a look at and see what might work well for you. So, and then as you scan, coming up with what your plan is. Having a plan when you receive the ball, and understanding that when you're providing support, your support only really truly helps if you have a plan for the next moment. So as far as width, next principle here. So stretching the opponent laterally across the field. So what does this create? It creates areas for penetrating the back line. Again, one of our principles. So if the more we stretch them, the more we stretch the opponent, the more width we have, the more patient we are, the more spaces and gaps there are in between the opponent to penetrate and to get in behind into backspace, or again, vertically get forward. This also helps us create overloads. So what we mean by that is if we're switching the point of attack, and I'll put it here below. So switching point of attack quickly to exploit the weak side. So positioning and patience. So with that, we then create overloads, meaning 2v1s, 3v2s, 4v3s, as you again, switch the point of attack to create those overloads, or numbers up situations, which you should be more successful, right? The more players you have, in an area, in relation to the opponent, you should generally be more successful. Okay, soccer is a very difficult sport to score goals. Teams, in terms of defending, lots of things have to go right, but the more overloads you create, the more opportunities you create, the more successful you are in terms of scoring goals and creating chances. It also creates more ground for the opponent to cover, right? So when you have the ball, if you keep good width, if you're patient, there's not too many people that just love to defend. Maybe there's one or two on your team that just love it. But as a whole, everybody wants the ball. So if you can keep it, if you can show patience, you can show width, you can have the opponent really chasing and working and covering all areas of the field. Sometimes it can lead to their frustration, right? And you've all been a part of games where your team has the ball a lot and you're just waiting for your team to score. And we've all been a part of games where our team doesn't have the ball very much, and you're trying to figure out how to combat that. So width is a big portion of that. Mobility, so the ability to interchange positions and create space through movement proactively. So I talked about that earlier. We want the kids to be as proactive as possible, to be on the move, to find diagonal runs in behind, to find the overloads. I put mentality in here because to be mobile, you have to be engaged and you have to have a certain mentality about you as a player. And you can bring that out in players as a coach to really convince them to, be active, take risk, show personality, be unafraid of making mistakes. And I think players develop a really positive mentality when they feel their coach has their back, right? If they do, 4 great things and 2 bad things, that we're giving them praise and then giving them feedback. But, we really want to encourage players to have that confidence in themselves to, again, be proactive without being worried their coach is going to be upset with them if they try something, right? We want them to try. Improvisation or creativity. So again, being inventive and unpredictable in your play through maybe some individual brilliance or small group combinations to break down the opponent. So again, you've seen, obviously Messi clips, Mo Salah clips, 1v1 situations where it's like, wow, that's awesome. And it's great. And that's something that we want to encourage players to have. Not every player does, though. Some players are not super fast or super skillful, maybe on the dribble. But those players can also provide a lot to the game through combination play, through their movement, wall passes, overlaps, underlaps, takeovers, third man runs. So those players can be, while maybe they're not the individual brilliant dribbler, they can be just as effective and scores, many goals. That also comes with their personality. Like this keeps coming up, personality within the game to want to score goals, to want to get forward, to make a mistake, but then just get right back at it again and keep, again, putting as much pressure on the opponent as you possibly can. And in some of the clips I'm going to show here in a little bit, that's one thing I enjoy about watching Liverpool play. You feel like, they're just relentless, right? I mean, the opponent might defend all game, but they're just going to continue, no matter what the score is, they're going to put pressure on you. Again, risk. So something that we want to encourage the players to take risks, whether you're on the ball trying to connect, in behind the back line to your teammate, or your movement off the ball might mean that you're offside. Offside is not a bad thing. It's a bad thing when you don't try and you stand still. Now, if you're offside 20 times in a game because you're not paying attention, that's different. But we want to, again, encourage the players to put as much pressure on the opponent as possible, and sometimes pressure on the referee too. That's part of it. Vision. So in your creativity, being, again, we talked about scanning and having a plan. Constantly be looking and checking, spaces, gaps, where your teammates are, and your vision is a huge part of being able to be creative, because that helps you play quick. And then the last part would just be the confidence. So again, put Disneyland in here. We've talked to players in the past that, hey, that ball gets to you and you're 1v1 in the final third, that's your moment. That's your happy time, right? There's no fear. That's the time for the opponent to have the fear. So we want you to enjoy that moment, be creative, be aggressive, be positive. And that really goes a long way towards, again, just constantly putting the opponent under pressure to defend. Transition. So one way that we discuss, with the players in terms of in possession or out of possession is whether we have the ball or they have the ball. So very simple. So in this transition, because it's talking about attacking principles, it's from they, so they have the ball, to we. So once we win it, are we looking to counterattack while the opponent is disorganized, right? I mean, generally, once you win the ball, if you can find the highest player up the field as quickly as possible, you're going to have success, because again, you're putting that pressure on the opponent to track back, to recover, to defend, to chase. And the quicker you're able to find an exit pass that is forward, you're gonna find more opportunities to score. Now, obviously, once the opponent recovers, then comes the possession, then comes the patience, and then back into the attacking principle. So now we're going to have to find a way to penetrate again. We're going to have our support, our width, our mobility, our creativity, once the opponent recovers. But in that moment of transition, when we win it, we want to, again, try to find the highest player up the field as quickly as possible, with confidence that you're going to be successful in that pass, right? We don't want to just kick it forward and hope our team gets it. We want to play forward with intention and purpose, and success. Okay, so this kind of leads into the training environment. And again, this is where, I'd like to spend a decent amount of time with maybe questions. Just some things that I feel, regardless of the level that you coach, I think you can bring these into your training environment, because players are generally the same. They want to play, they want to play to goal, and they want to do it as often as possible. So, I know not everyone is going to have goals always, but there's different ways to kind of, create that into your training. And there's a few examples here. So I put competition always. If it's a competition, the players generally have more fun. They generally try, maybe a bit harder. They're more engaged in the training, because it's just, they know they're competing, they're trying to win. And again, whether they win or not, maybe there's a little, hey, it's 5 burpees or 10 crunches, or, it doesn't have to be dramatic if they lose, but something that gets their minds switched on in training and competition, no matter what you're doing, from a passing pattern to, finishing. I do a lot of pattern work onto goal with my team, where, there's no defenders, but they compete against the goalkeepers now. So there's always a competition going on in training. For me, it works really well. So I would encourage you there. Playing to goal. So like I said before, players want to play, they want to play to goal. If you have big goals, great. If you don't, mini goals are awesome. Pug goals, bow nets, skills goals, whatever you have. If you don't have any of that, you can do, you can dribble over the line, you can dribble and stop the ball on the line. You could have end zones that you're playing into, but something that gives the game direction, is really important, because that brings out a lot of the principles that you're trying to, that we're talking about here, right? The more it looks like the game, the more you're going to be able to see those things come out within the players. So again, games that have 4-goal games, or I played a game the other day, a 3-goal game, which was way different and kind of fun. So again, competition, playing to goal, very important. And then in here I put restrictions. So I generally try to put at the bottom, but break the games up. So if you're going to play, say for example, 6v6 is your numbers, break the games up into a best of 3, best of 5, have them compete hard for 8 minutes, give them a break. Okay. The red team won the first game. All right. Okay. Now competition. Okay. Black team, you got to win this game. Otherwise it's this or that, right? Whatever you want to come up with. But breaking the training up into those maybe 3, best out of 3, best out of 5 scenarios, where they're not just 25 minutes of just playing and, no one's keeping score, right? I think that really brings out, probably the most in the players. And then, like I said, restrictions, 1 touch, 2 touch, you could do different things. I do this a lot in regards to the rewards or extra points for the topic in the day. So if we play a flying changes game, if we play, like I said, a 6v6 or 8v8, it could be, you get 1 point if you score a regular goal. You get 2 points for a first time finish. You get 3 points for a goal from a cross. You get 4 points for if there's a combination that leads to a goal. You could do 1 point for a penetrating pass. 2 points for a 1v1 situation where a player takes a player off the dribble and scores, right? So just whatever you're trying to bring out maybe in that particular day, rewarding those things with extra points in the game. Because I think for me, it keeps their mind engaged throughout the whole training of, okay, we started with this, we continue with this, and now it's really showing up when you're actually playing, which is super important. So I think, yeah, so we can kind of end a little bit there. I can take any questions and then, I can show some video, but that's most of it.
Anybody have any questions there that you want to ask Mike? I got one for you, Mike, while people kind of think about it, but what sort of activities would you say, if you had to kind of design, one of your favorite activities for a coach who's coaching rec plus, only has an hour, for practice, what's kind of your favorite that you think would get a lot of best bang for your buck, kind of during their 1 hour session to focus on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, I know that, again, especially at the rec level, if you have goals, mini goals or anything that flags, anything that again includes directional play. So 2 teams go into different goals, right? And again, you can create your own restrictions within the game. Again, like I said, 1 touch, 2 touch, rewarding the extra points for different things that you're trying to bring out, maybe in that training. Players also really love transitional games like a flying changes. So 2v2, flying changes, or something we do a lot, with the older kids is you could play with bumpers. So people love to play with bumpers on the outside that, you can play to, they can bump it right back in. You give them, 1 touch, maybe they have 2 touch, depending on the level of the player. But a way to keep, all of the kids engaged and hey, sometimes we do, hey, play the bumper, ball comes back off the bumper and you score, it's 2 points. So, bumpers is a great way to put them on the outside of the goal at the ends, because that does get you to, that player is free and they're wide open, but they're where the goal is, right? They're forward. They're bringing out sort of, that concept of when we win it, our first thought is to go to goal. If it's not on to go to goal, no problem. We possess, we try to keep it, and we go from there. But again, playing with targets, flying changes, playing with targets as well as another, favorite one of players, where again, everyone's active. It's constant transition, from offense to defense, we to they to we, and the players generally really enjoy those transitional games.
Yeah, it's good. What about
Mike? You got a question?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, hey, this is Dave. Thanks a lot. I really like that, because what Ricardo asked is right here. I'm in Rec Plus, and the girls are just having a great time, and we actually set up the goals at Osage and are trying to do socially distanced scrimmage, which has worked great, because all these years I've told them to spread out, now they have to. So it's been good. With that being said, I like your terms, and why I like this is, get wide in the transitions while we're not playing other teams. It's that counterattack. But when you're talking about, in your training environment, and they're actually scrimmaging, and you're trying to impose the get wide, look for opportunities, make that pass, because they'll just put their head down and go 1v3 or so. Do you stop them in the midst of a scrimmage and say, let's stop where you are, what would you do here? Or what is your coaching technique to actually show them when they're on the field, instead of a drill, to get wide, spread out, look for line breaking opportunities?
Yeah, no, good question. I mean, I think, it's definitely a balance. And I think especially right now, it's a balance of trying not to over coach them, right? Because we just want them to be, almost mentally free to just play. But I would say that, there's probably a few moments in there that, before you start the scrimmage portion of your training, that you're reiterating what you're trying to work on for that day. And like I said, the other way is you reward them for, so they get more points if they do something that, like you said, if you want them to give more width, so reward them, maybe it's 3 points if you score from across. So now they have to provide width if they're going to get the ball across. So, little ways to kind of, bring out what you're trying to get across in the training within the game. So like I said, just rewarding them with more points for that particular topic. And I would say, you definitely want to occasionally stop them and give them, what getting their head up, seeing their picture, and that picture that they're seeing, and generally they get the answer correct, right? They kind of, once they actually stop and see it, they can almost answer the question themselves. So it's, hey, stop. Hey, what do you see? What do you think here? And then you can start to evaluate the other players that are off the ball. Cause sometimes the player on the ball, we think, oh, wow, they lost it. But, the 3-4 players that are, that are trying to support the ball aren't quite doing, maybe the best job. Right. So you're not just stopping to coach the one player. That's really, you're coaching, the group. So
the big pair. I really like that. And I think what you said is in restrictions is in this team, it's like, okay, 2 touches maximum, and then you got to pass the ball. 2 dribbles, and you got to pass the ball, instead of just one person who has extreme dribbling skills can go through everyone, but trying to get wide. And I love your term, let's be proactive. Be proactive off the ball, which is so true. And you get beat so many times if someone makes a cut and they pressure the ref, they pressure the other team and make that line breaking pass, and we're done. So thanks.
Yeah, no, and I think the restrictions, sometimes the players don't love those restrictions.
No,
but I think you can, like I said, if you break the games up into a best of 3 or best of 5, the first game is 2 touch, right? And so it's 8 minutes, 2 touch. We play that. They get a little bit of the concepts for it, and then the next 2 games are unlimited, right? Because they have this thing in their head sometimes, and again, my players the same. I tell them we've been trying to do a lot of 1 touch.
Wow.
Just to get everybody involved and talk a lot with other coaches, and even Austin is on this call a lot about that stuff. And we just want to see different things, and we want to get them to try different things as well. So I would say, while they don't always like it right off the bat, they generally can power through it for 8 minutes, right? And then you can let
2
them
touches max, and then get rid of it, is what you're saying.
Yep.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for the question.
No other questions there, Mike, if you want to move forward.
Yep. Okay, so really, just from here, I will show just a little bit of video. Again, it's just 5 clips of Liverpool scoring 5 goals. So, generally everyone, prefers to see the actual goal being scored, but within the clips, I would just encourage you to take a look at the principles we just talked about. And I'll point out a few here and there, but, a lot of these things will come through as far as the principles go, leading up to a goal. So let me that link wasn't working for me. So let me go straight to it. Okay, and this is just basically Liverpool's, I think it's like the last 5 goals that they've scored just about. So between Champions League, I believe Sheffield United and Everton. So just take a look, and again, I'll point out a couple things along the way, and then that's it.
You just gotta share that your web browser.
Oh, okay. I got to stop the presentation here. Can you see that screen, Ricardo?
Nope. Then you just got to share it, the screen under the screen share.
Ricardo, your thought is to put this presentation up on something, because these, I'm writing down all these notes and things, trying to copy them down, but at least there'll be somewhere we can look at.
Absolutely. Yep. We're
Thank
working
you.
on that. Anybody want to help out? We're going to create a YouTube channel to start
Okay.
posting all of these. So anybody wants to help,
Yeah.
feel free.
Very helpful for other coaches or assistant coaches. Just like
Yeah.
the terminology is invaluable
Agreed.
in listening to them.
Okay,
Hey,
can you
Mike,
see it now?
Mike.
Hey, Michelle.
Hi.
Hey, Michelle, how are you?
I'm sorry I'm late. I had a meeting that ran late, but I missed the beginning. Are you going to share the slide deck?
Yeah. I'll turn it into a PDF after, and I'll send it over to Ricardo. And again, anyone needs any information or anything, I put my email up on the last slide. I'll go back to that, but yeah, we'll definitely share the presentation as well.
Thank you.
You got it, Michelle. We'll get it over to you.
Thanks.
All right. Can you see it now, Ricardo?
Not yet.
What is going on? It says you are screen sharing.
Do your new share. There might be like a new share button right above it.
Yep. There we go. Perfect.
Okay. All right. Okay. So again, just take a look at the principles. I'll point out a few along the way, but just enjoy. So for me here, obviously width, penetration on the dribble, combination play, and then just the vision off the ball. So obviously a fantastic goal there. And this game, certainly I was a little difficult for Liverpool. Sheffield United really sat back quite a bit, and they had a great season last year, really defending. So, this was a moment where they had to be pretty patient. How's that video coming across, Ricardo? Because it's not doing well on my side.
Yeah, it's a little grainy. It's a little grainy.
Okay.
But I think in your presentation, we can kind of look through the links, after that.
Perfect. Okay. We'll see maybe this one a little bit better. Always works great when you're not presenting, right?
Of course, it's technology.
Yeah. So we'll keep this as the last one, I think, here. But yeah, so again, just trying to bring out those principles, that we talked about today. Anytime that you watch the game, I think now, even if you think about those principles, you will see so many of those things come about in a game. So, I really appreciate everyone's time. If there's any other questions, I'm happy to, certainly answer any right now, or, again, let's see, put my email and phone number up here. If anyone wants to reach out, we're always here to help, and this is a fun thing to do, and we hope to do a lot more of it.
Yeah, so we'll get the presentation out to the entire group, and then, like I said, I'm recording this too, so we'll get this posted on our YouTube page once we get that up and running and created. Want to thank Mike for taking time out of his busy schedule to pull this together for all of us, and appreciate that, and appreciate the rest of the coaches participating on this call too. Next topic for the next one is actually going to be Pat Uries, who's going to talk through kind of a defensive topic. So try to balance everything out. We've got our offensive attacking principles. Next, we're going to work on some defensive principles, and we'll just keep coming up with different topics. If there's others that you would like to see us discuss, please, by all means, send those over to me. My email address is on the Mustang website, just ricardo.martinez@amllb.com. And we'll be happy to set these up so that they're valuable for you guys. But thank you very much. Appreciate it. And stay tuned for the recording.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Ricardo, question.
Yep.
Hey, what's the latest that you see in the Mustang soccer office regarding COVID and restrictions in playing, and what's it look like? What's your latest as